Can't nobody tell me that this new Inside Out movie that is for kids. This movie is for adults, and I would encourage every adult to go see this movie.
Guys, have you seen the new movie Inside Out? Ooh, let me tell you, that movie is not for kids, okay? Oh my gosh, like everybody needs to watch it. I think kids, adults, everybody, because the way it's so insightful, it just makes people think about all of our emotions in a whole different perspective. Like, it's crazy. I'm gonna post a couple reactions of some people that have a few things to say, and then I'll be back with my commentary
to go see this movie, okay? So if you haven't seen the first movie, it came out in 2015. I freaking love this movie. Pixar, y'all did y'all big one with these movies, okay? It's on Disney Plus. Go check it out, all right? And so just to give you a synopsis of what's going on, we're introduced to a young girl named Riley, and we're seeing how the emotions are working inside of her. So we're introduced to joy, sadness, fear, anger, and disgust, okay? In this new movie, we are introduced, because Riley is now 13. So we're introduced to anxiety. There's a couple of more emotions that are there, but anxiety was the main character. When I tell you I was triggered, just because anxiety would tell this young girl, you're not good enough. Anxiety was like, I am the only emotion that she needs. Anxiety would bottle up all of the rest of the emotions and say, I got this. Anxiety was trying its best to make sure that she played out every worst scenario, that she would overwork herself, that she was worrying and just anxious. And when I tell you, I can relate to this so much, because how many of y'all ever had them days where it's like, it feel like joy got the wheel? Like, you know, everything cool. We operating pretty good. But then there's other days when anxiety got the wheel. You can't think. You feel paralyzed. You can't move. You don't know why. Like, I have my imposter syndrome that's been going on inside of me. And I was like watching this movie in tears, because I'm like, that's how it be. And there's a part in the movie where anxiety is like doing everything. Like, it is like, you gotta, like, I can't even describe it. You gotta see it in action. And then the other emotions were watching anxiety while anxiety was taking the wheel and trying to do everything. And Joy had to step up there and just say, hey, we can't control her emotions like that. And I was just like, not me getting a word in this kid movie. This movie is for us. I done told y'all, it's for us. And I had to think about that, just because, yes, there are a bunch of emotions that make us who we are. But how many times has anxiety just like wreak havoc inside of you? And you're like not understanding why, and you're doing all of these things. And it's like, wow, y'all, I ain't gonna cry right now, just because it made me very emotional. But Inside Out 2, Pixar people, the Disney people, I'm gonna have to go see this movie again. Y'all did that, okay? This movie should have came out during Mental Health Awareness Month, just because this movie is for us. I'm not gonna spoil the ending, but y'all need to go see it. It was so good. I'm going to see it again, and I just had to tell y'all about my experience.
Anxiety cooked, and I was on her side for like half the movie. I am not the only one. She came in with good intentions, as anxiety does. People with anxiety, or at least me, don't go into situations hoping for the worst. We fear the worst so that we may avoid it. But the crazy difference between fear and anxiety is that these fears are not real. That's why anxiety learned to ground herself back into reality by the end of the movie. But I really could not stand Joy at the beginning of the movie. That scene in the locker room was so old. It was so embarrassing. And anxiety fixing the situation. Anxiety's presence is a sign of maturity within Riley. Riley is becoming more self-aware and self-conscious. So again, anxiety is not all bad. Her fears are more categorized as what ifs because they're not real, they haven't happened yet. But it really does come with the best intentions, even though it can be incredibly harmful. The fact that anxiety saw positive thoughts as unhelpful, it was too real. I understand that. That's why you need a balance. A positive what if can be just as helpful as a negative what if. Be aware of your surroundings, but be aware of opportunities and good things that are coming to you.
Everyone's talking about this scene from Inside Out 2, but is it really accurate? You don't get to choose who Riley is. Anxiety?
The short answer is yes. If anyone was to show you what anxiety and a panic attack is like in your head, this would flat out be it. All the chaos and stress going on and trying to do everything to feel better, but nothing is working is just perfect. Even with the details showing that anxiety is stuck in one place, but you can still see her moving everywhere is just brilliant. Pixar was on the money with all these creativity scenes like this, and that's why it's no doubt one of the best movies of this year.
You know what I don't get about Inside Out that kind of pisses me off? I'm sorry, I couldn't not notice it. In Riley's brain, I don't know why I got closer to you guys, sorry. In Riley's brain, her emotions don't look like her. Like, Joy has blue hair, Disgust has green hair, like, all the hair kind of matches there. You jump into their friend's brain, and their hair matches their friends. They got pigtails, they got braids. No. If there's anything I know about the Inside Out government, it's that's not it. Why'd you start doing that? If you were gonna do that, you should have made the original ones look like Riley.
I'm a therapist who went to go see Inside Out 2, so if you don't want any spoilers, don't keep watching. If you do, that's on you. I went last night to see the second one, and I didn't think it could get any better than the first, and I was blown out of the water by this movie. It was amazing. The way that they integrated these emotions and really described these emotions, especially like as they become new in teenage years, was nail on the head. I specifically want to talk about anxiety because I thought the way that they portrayed anxiety as an emotion as this character was spot on. Anxiety creeps into the core emotions, and it's kind of like, it looks like it's a pal, right? It's like, I'm helping plan, I'm trying to, like, you know, plan for the future, get things under control, and quickly loses control. I think that's what's so scary sometimes about anxiety, because some anxiety is normal. It's what keeps us safe. It's what keeps us on our toes. It's what keeps us planning for things, but so quickly can get out of control, as we see in this movie. Anxiety begins driving all of Riley's decisions, even decisions that she normally wouldn't make. One of the crazy things that I loved about this was that the 5 core emotions were working on creating a sense of self that was, I'm a good person. And when anxiety took over and started creating core beliefs based off of memories, it changed. And it changed to, I'm not good enough. And I thought that that was such an accurate representation of anxiety and its core belief, is that at the end of the day, I'm not good enough. That no matter what I do, I will never be good enough. And when I heard that, I was shooketh to my core. Like, I was like, damn. You hit that. And it was so interesting watching the anxiety attack scene happen, because even the representation of that at the emotional level, like in their little world, like it looked like anxiety was running over and over and over and over again. But when Joy entered that space, it was actually anxiety was frozen at the control panel. And I have never seen such a like accurate representation right there of like when you're in that thrall, it feels like I'm out of control, but I can't do anything. And then at the end of the day, it comes back to that all of these emotions serve a purpose. It's figuring out what purpose that they serve. I literally can't wait to watch this movie again, because there's so much to dissect, and it was just so good.
I just watched Inside Out 2. It felt like I left a therapy session. I feel healed. I feel amazing. I was fighting back actual tears looking in the theater like, yo, this shit for kids. Some of y'all ain't really healed yet. Like, y'all need to go tap in. Like, that movie normalized a lot of stuff that's not normalized when I was growing up. I feel like we're teaching kids that it's okay to have certain emotions and how we handle them. A lot of y'all adults, y'all need to watch that.
Here's why you shouldn't go see Inside Out 2. Now, I know I'm going to get a lot of hate for this, and I know a lot of people are going to be upset. They're going to think I'm being too deep. But I have a very strong reason why you shouldn't see Inside Out 2. And here's the reason. If you're not ready to have a hard conversation about what you're letting shape your future, you shouldn't go see Inside Out 2. Inside Out 2 perfectly explains how we have allowed anxiety to take control of our future. In that movie, if you go watch it, it's about a girl named Riley and all of her emotions inside of her, and the emotions are controlling her and helping her get through life. And when she hit puberty, a new emotion came called anxiety. And anxiety told all the other emotions, I plan for the future. But the problem was when anxiety planned for the future, anxiety planned for the most negative outcomes. And some of us have allowed anxiety to create scenarios of these horrible negative outcomes in the future that will never happen. And the first thing anxiety did was kick joy out. Can I tell you something? Us trying to plan for the future with these negative outcomes is kicking joy out of our lives. Now, I got 76 messages on this movie, and this is just the first one.
So, now that Inside Out 2 has been out for a month now, we can finally talk about the fact that this movie is not for kids. I know that some people assume because it's an animation that it would be for kids, but is it really? Or is it for us? The way it embodied what all of us were thinking but too afraid to say or admit is insane. I don't know what the folks at Pixar are up to, but they're doing the Lord's work. Because why did this feel better than my therapy sessions? What am I paying her for? What? So if you watch part 1, then you were probably looking forward to part 2. The first part actually made me cry, and I'm not even a movie crier, y'all. And damn show that, guys, we're not perfect and we're truly a work in progress. Like, we can believe really positive things about ourselves and we can believe things that are not so positive. But it's about how you work with it and heal from it. And honestly, just giving yourself grace as you try to become a better person and a better friend for yourself. Look, I don't want to give too many lessons away, but you guys need to go watch this movie. Inside Out 2 was an entire therapy session, and some of y'all don't even want to go to therapy, so you might as well just go see the movie and go heal a bit. It's worth it.
Guys, I really just enjoyed that movie. I mean, it kind of puts you in a whole different perspective about us human beings, right? Uh Joy used to control all of Riley's emotions, right? But at the end, we figured out that all of the emotions are important, right? Sadness, joy, anxiety, all of those emotions are important for us to be who we are. And in the beginning, Joy used to control Riley's emotions, and we figured out that it's not healthy for a person to be joyful all the time, and it's not realistic. Correct? So it's important to acknowledge that it's important to also have sadness. It's important to also have anxiety, but we need to learn to manage those emotions. So it was like, I can't even explain. If you haven't watched Inside Out 2, like, you need to go watch it. And I really like how the perception of when joy and all of the other emotions kind of were thrown out, and the anxiety and other emotions took over, and Joy and the other emotions went to the back of Riley's mind. They found so many memories. They found the what is that called, the imaginary friend, and like so many things that were part of her old self, right? And it's a very interesting perspective that in order for you to move on and become a better person, you people sometimes tend to let go of their old selves. And that's how we saw the imaginary friend kind of got stuck in there, in the pile of the other emotions, and slowly she had to become who she actually is, right? And her sense of self used to only be, I'm a good person, I'm a good person. But it's really not realistic for people to think that. It's not realistic for kids to grow up thinking like, oh, I'm only a good person. And this movie gives a perspective that, all of the emotions are important. Sometimes you're going to be selfish, sometimes you're going to be sad, sometimes you're going to be envious. And it's very important to embrace all of your imperfections and not only your perfections. And Joy used to kind of shove all of the bad emotions, all of the bad memories into the back of Riley's mind, which is really not um healthy if you really think about it, right? It's really not healthy. I think it's good to acknowledge all of your emotions, deal with all of the traumas, all of the things from the past, whether it's good or not, so then you can move forward and become the person you actually meant to be. Now, if you are going to be a good or bad person, that would be depending on your character. But it's very important to acknowledge your emotions. And it kind of also give us a perspective of giving people grace, giving the people grace to, you know, in a way that you start analyzing that not everyone is perfect, and we're not meant to be perfect people. We're not meant to be joyful all the time. Sometimes we're going to be upset, angry, anxious, etc. So that really creates a perspective of giving people grace, right? Giving people grace and ourselves grace, that we can embrace all of who we are. So I really think that everybody needs to watch this movie, whether you're a child or an adult. And make sure let me know what you guys think on the comments down below. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, and turn on your post notifications so you know when I post.